Ladies and gentlemen, for our final session, please welcome our moderator, Emmy-nominated actress, documentary film producer, and prominent equal rights advocate, Laverne Cox.
Hello! Thank you so much. How are you feeling this evening? I said, how are you feeling this evening? Awesome. I am so excited to be with you this evening, and I'm even more excited to introduce this next woman. She is a bona fide movie star. You've seen her in blockbusters like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, a little film series called The Hunger Games. You might have seen it. You've also seen her in the Pitch Perfect trilogy, for which she also serves as a producer. And yes, and she made her directorial debut in Pitch Perfect 2, and yes, and if you don't know, Pitch Perfect 2 is the biggest selling musical comedy in film history. That's right. Pretty major. And she's also involved with the hotly anticipated, at least by me, reboot of Charlie's Angels, for which she co-wrote, yes, she co-wrote the new Charlie's Angels film, she produced it, and she directed it. Yes. It's coming out November 15th. I'm super excited. And she's really an all-around badass. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Elizabeth Banks. It's just the truth.
Oh, I love it. Hi, everybody. Woo! 5 o'clock on a Sunday. Nobody wants to, take a nap, right?
Is anyone, sort of hungover from brunch, earlier? Or you've been here all day?
Happy birthday!
I love that energy. Thank you for the energy and happy birthday. That's amazing. Everybody, what's your name? Can we say happy birthday, Shanessa, everybody?
Happy birthday, Janessa!
That was amazing. Okay, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun tonight. So I want to start with how we met. We met 2 years ago. I had a show on CBS called Doubt that was canceled after 2 episodes. And that's pretty devastating, but literally it happened on a Friday, and I was in Las Vegas to see J-Lo. And so I just drowned my troubles in watching J-Lo be J-Lo.
Oh, the best.
And literally a week later, we were doing a chemistry read together where Liz directed me for a chemistry read. If you can be directed by Elizabeth Banks, I highly recommend it.
Aww.
And it was for a pilot called The Trustee. Yeah. And 2 days later, I was in Vancouver, and we had such an amazing time on that project. It did not get picked up.
No, it did not.
And then we worked on another project together.
Yes, we did.
That also didn't quite make it to air.
Did not get picked up.
And that is, and that's show business.
I'm your lucky charm, Laverne.
But actually you are. I really believe that that rejection is God's protection. And so I wanted to start, right? And so I wanted to start with, for you, we know you as an incredible actress, and you're hilarious, but it was 10 years ago that you transitioned into producing for the first time. What was it that made you decide that you wanted to produce? And was there a moment where there was a rejection that ended up being God's protection? Was there a moment of you sort of feeling like you were at your lowest low that sparked this decision for you?
You know, so much of it came from my relationship with my husband, who Laverne also knows. We've been together for 27 years this year. And I know. I was 4 when we met, obviously. We were trying to plan a life together, and at the time I was acting. We do so much work out of town, so I was traveling all the time. And he was graduating business school, and we were getting married, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's gonna go take a 9-to-5 job and have 2 weeks vacation, and how am I ever gonna see this guy who I love and wanna make a life with? And he was a big writer in college and very creative person, and he was always asking me about material and reading the scripts that I was working on. And we just sort of fell into this idea that he could be a movie producer, that we could do it together, that we already had access and we had really good taste, and what we didn't have was clout. And I felt that those were really the only three things you needed to produce anything in this town. If you have access to the people who get things done, the agents, the managers, the writers, etc., the other producers, the money, then you have a chance. If you have good taste, then you have a really good chance. What we needed was clout. And you don't get clout until you get things done. And so we had to start getting stuff done. So he's somebody who said, I can't call myself a producer until I've actually produced something. I don't want to be that guy who's like, I produce movies and I've never done anything. And so, long story, it could be so long. It could be the whole 45 minutes. He found a graphic novel called Surrogates, and we sent a sort of a treatment based on the novel to our agent, who said, I don't get it. I'll send it around if you really want me to. Mind you, I was making quite a good living as an actress and still do. So your agents, when you're like, I want to become a producer with my husband, who just graduated from business school, they're like, no, do not do that. But we persisted, and we sent it around, and we happened to fall into business with a college friend, actually, Todd Lieberman, who's a big producer still to this day, and his partner David Hoberman. They really loved Surrogates. They saw something in it, the same as we did. And then it snowballed from there. We ended up with a really great set of writers. We ended up with a big director, and then we ended up with Bruce Willis in the movie, and it became a Disney feature starring Bruce Willis. It is not a good movie. You don't have to go look it up or watch it.
I think it's very important to be able to have an honest assessment of your work.
Yeah, it's not good. Thank you, Laverne. But we learned so much making that movie, and we were invited into the process by our fellow partners in producing, and it really was our whole education, that movie. And we were doing other little things here and there. But that was the real jumping off point for us. You know, I don't think there are not many producers in Hollywood who go from, I guess I'll send it around if you guys think it's something. And we were like, no, we know it's something. Send it around, to a $90 million Disney movie starring Bruce Willis. Like, it was a really great jumping off point. And then, of course, we really got our footing with Pitch Perfect. And everything's kind of gone on from there at this point. But it was all born out of, I want to have a lot of fun times with my husband, and I don't want him to take a shitty job that he doesn't want to do.
Amazing. So I understand that there's a lot of folks here who are content creators and involved in technology. So I just want to go clout, taste, and access. And access. Yeah. So then the piece of, like, what I love is that you were self-starters, that you did it. Obviously, you had access that everybody's not going to be able to, like, have an agent who's going to get Bruce Willis in your project. But I think the important thing is that you just did it, and then you fail, or it's not the project that you hoped it to be, would be, but that's actually when you learn the most.
I agree. And the other thing, look, there was a lot of work that went into that moment in time when we were able to send that treatment to the agents, right? Which means I had to work at a career and building my relationships with people. We had to know Todd Lieberman and David Hoberman. They had to have worked. All of those relationships came into play, and they were all built up over time. I've been doing this now. My first film was Wet Hot American Summer. That was my SAG card. And it went to Sundance in 2001. So wow. I haven't been doing it 20 years totally yet, but actually my SAG card was probably in commercials. Who am I kidding? My first movie was Wet Hot, but I made a bunch of commercials before I did that.
For sure.
But all the relationships and all of that go into it. So you can't, it is not just like show up off the street and send a treatment, unless you're a total genius, which does happen every once in a while.
It's tricky though. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because as a producer, as a director, you've also created your own platform called Who Ha Ha. Can you talk to us a little bit about Who Ha Ha and tell everybody what it is and why and what sparked it?
Yeah, Who Ha Ha is a digital platform that is aimed at incubating female comedic talent. And it was partially born out of the digital age and social media in general, and me having a really fraught relationship with social media and the whole digital landscape that we're in, and feeling like, and then also a reaction to, I really felt that there was this idea taking hold in the time between the sort of end of rom-coms, which is how so many female stars were made for so long in Hollywood.
So rom-coms are over, is that what you're saying?
They're back now on streaming, but they're kind of over theatrically. By the way, I'd make one right now. So I think that there's an audience. They're really fun to do, and they're not that expensive. So we can have a whole other panel about bringing back the rom-com theatrically if you want to. I'm down for it. But the point was that they were not happening. Female stars were not being built in the same way. We are not creating them. It actually is a major issue in Hollywood, in my opinion. And then there was this idea, despite the fact that like Tina Fey exists, that somehow women aren't funny. And I thought, that's not true at all. I know lots of funny women, and we can name 20 of them right now, and they've always been around. But they weren't getting the sort of attention in the business that I felt needed to. They weren't being incubated in the right way. And so Hoo Ha Ha is a great incubator of talent. It allows us to sort of reach out and meet creative women at their level. And it's also a way of saying to women, like, there are no barriers anymore. It used to be that you had to, no, there's no one path into the business, but now it's like, make a YouTube video. Like, that's the path. Like, everything exists. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need $100,000. You can get your iPhone and your friends together, and you can make whatever you want. There's no barrier to entry at this point in time anymore. If you're talented, you've got a fresh idea, you can do it. And we kind of wanted to put that out there and see what came back to us. And it's been a really amazing platform for so many women. It's kind of created a community that lives like on its own now. And we also wanted to get off of websites and into distribution in the way that people really do things, which is short form on their phones.
Absolutely. So then I've always wondered this, and we haven't talked about it, so we can talk about it now. Do folks, if someone is a young woman comedian and is interested in working on Hoo Ha Ha, do you provide resources? Do you provide any kind of budget? Do they come with their own content?
Yeah.
Like, how does it work?
We find people lots of different ways. However, we sponsor like evenings. You can sign up. You can go to hoohaha.com. You can get all this information. It's a great community. We're constantly posting about how to come in, pitch, how to send us your show, etc. We have a whole team that finds things, goes out and finds things. But also, like, it's really fun community. Like, we throw like mixers. Like, you can just go to a mixer at Digital Media Management and have a whole evening of like-minded fun people, and they'll help you figure out how to get your stuff done.
That's amazing. Whenever I think mixer too, I also think, like, is it a singles opportunity as well?
It can be.
You want to stay professional.
I'm gonna now. I want someone. I'm hoping there's like a wedding off of a Hoo Ha Ha wedding. I'm gonna that's gonna be a goal now.
We're manifesting.
I'm manifesting love.
Yes, we're manifesting that moment. So we've spoken it into existence now. And
by the way, did you see that I spilled my water all over myself? Did everyone notice, or was I
trying
about
to let that go. And
I
just
still want another sip, but it's like all
you're
over
a big
seat.
movie star, so we want to keep the mystique.
There's no mystique. The mystique is gone. Did you see the 40-Year-Old Virgin? I'm like masturbating in a bathtub. There's no mystique. It's all out the door.
The thing is when you're an actor, you have to let go of all of your inhibitions. You cannot have them anymore because you might have to masturbate on camera.
I've done it not just once.
Yeah. I wasn't getting paid, but luckily I stopped doing that before anything was recorded. So, yes. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So,
we're gonna have like multiple additional conversations after this conversation.
One of the things, and you mentioned this, Hoo Ha Ha is about women and getting women into content creation, building women stars, and you're a woman director. What are your, and there's also this 4% challenge that Time's Up started, and so there's a lot of talk right now about diversity, not only in front of, but behind the camera in our industry. What do you feel a sort of obligation and responsibility to hire diversely? What does that mean to you? Can you talk to us a little bit about how that manifests itself in the way you do business?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that I felt anecdotally, and I would have these conversations with people all the time, feeling like, gosh, I don't feel like I get enough opportunity, and gosh, my first movie was with Paul Rudd, and he's freaking a Marvel superhero now, and he makes millions of dollars, and I either have to believe I'm not as talented as he is, or, there's just not as much opportunity. And I feel very grateful to Gina Davis, who I know spoke on this today as well, for creating her institute where she really studied gender in media, and was able to take these anecdotal feelings we were having about lack of opportunity and put numbers to it, put big raw data to it. And so now when we see the data, it's something that our entire industry can no longer ignore. And so for so long, we would feel like, gosh, we always were the girlfriend, or we didn't have as many lines, or we didn't have as much power in the industry, and we weren't being able to tell our stories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone could always point to a couple things here and there and go, that's not true, look at Bridesmaids or whatever. And now it's like, oh no, there's the data, guys. You can literally see, we get 30% of the roles, and we get 30% of the lines, and we've only 4% of us direct theatrically released movies, so are done by women. And then, of course, for women of color, for non-binary, non-cis, anybody, it's like 10 times worse. So I'm just so grateful we have the numbers, because now we get to present the numbers to the people who make decisions and go, is this the world that you guys want to live in? We are creating culture worldwide. It is a humongous responsibility. I take it very seriously.
Yeah, for sure. So with that in mind, as a producer, as a director, you hire people. So do you think, and because it's a really tricky thing, when I hire people, I always want the best person for the job, right? But then at the same time, I understand that having diverse perspectives around me enriches the experience. Right. So what kind of intention do you have around hiring diversely as a producer?
We do the best we can. I cannot say that I am perfect in this regard. That said, I try really hard, and more importantly, I try to call out when I see things that people maybe don't recognize as the systemic issues. For instance, I was making a television show with a couple of great writers, 2 men who were a writing team, and we said to them, we want to have a really diverse writers' room for you guys. And they had been working in the business for many, many years, but did not know a lot of diverse writers to bring into the room. We said, let us introduce you to a lot of people. Here's a list of people. Here's some of their credits, et cetera. And in one of our meetings, one of the guys said, well, we're not going to lower the bar. Yes. Exactly. And it's in those moments that I feel I can really shine. So, we maybe weren't going to have a perfect room, but let me tell you, being able to speak with these gentlemen and educate them about how statements like that become part of the systemic problem in our industry, in which women are not getting opportunities, people of color are not getting opportunities to get into the rooms where these decisions are being made, where these things are happening, for many, many reasons that go all the way down the chain of command. And that the part of the problem is, like, if you're the person who goes, well, that's lowering the bar. None of those people have ever had the opportunity because someone like me wasn't in the room going, we need to hire this person.
Yeah. And then what does the mentorship piece look like? Where I'm executive producing a documentary called Disclosure, Trans Lives on Screen, that looks at the history of how trans folks have been represented on screen. And my director, this isn't my idea, I wish I could claim it, my director for the documentary, Sam Feder, had this great idea of having an all-trans crew to make the film. And in the case that where we can't hire someone trans, we'll have the cisgender person or non-trans person train someone who's trans, so that we can begin to build like trans folks who are capable of doing the work and getting hired and being, just because if you don't have the opportunity, there's no way you can get the experience. I was recently talking to a journalist, and he was like, because we're talking a lot about how television is actually way more diverse than it's ever been. Yeah. But with film, particularly with like LGBTQ representation, films aren't quite there yet. And they were asking me, the journalist was asking me, are you getting movie offers? And I was like, well, here and there, like I'm doing my hustle, it's always a hustle. But you need to be a big bankable star internationally. And like, how does one become a big bankable star internationally if you're never cast in something where you can become a big bankable star internationally? So it becomes this, self-defeating prophecy if you just don't ever give people an opportunity. And it's not even about giving them. I mean, I'm willing to earn everything. Trust.
But you just said something really interesting, and I think this is something also that we're still, we're in a moment of intense change all across the content creation industry. And, you just said you can't be a big, bankable international star if you don't blah, 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 blah. As if like that's still a big issue. And I'm not sure that it is a big issue when things like Black Panther work on the scale that it worked on. So,
yeah.
Meaning that we are constantly up against they're not even old. They're not antiquated ideas. They're ideas from 10 minutes ago in the in the history of the movie industry. This idea that like, well, we need a big bankable star, and I'm not even sure what that means anymore. And I definitely want to challenge. I'm constantly wanting to challenge that idea. When Jordan Peele can make a movie with a bunch of people that no one's ever heard of, that is super fresh and interesting and makes lots of money for their studio, like it kind of proves the opposite, and wins Oscars. It's like, I don't know, what does that even mean? Yeah. So I think it's important to challenge people about what a star is right now. And look, I'm somebody who wanted to be Julia Roberts, so they don't.
Aren't you so much happier being yourself? We love Julia Roberts.
No.
You still want to be Julia Roberts?
I mean, I want my husband and my kids, but yeah, I want her. Yeah, for sure.
I met her recently, and it was pretty. She oozes charisma and like electricity. It's crazy. Like
To be sure, the reason I produce, direct, write, and everything else, and hustle and do what I'm doing is partially because I wanted to hang out with my husband, like I said. But it's also because I'm not fucking Julia Roberts. Because if I had become Julia Roberts, I would not be doing that garbage. I'd be like, life's good, everybody. I don't need to work this hard.
Can we, and I don't want to sort of, go into something sort of mundane, but when I meet women like you, you're married, you have 2 kids. She's married, she has 2 kids. She has a production company. She has Hoo Ha Ha. You have other digital platforms. We'll get to Shrill in a sec. You're doing a lot. You have like I wonder what your time management is like, what like the day is like. Do you get up at like 3 a.m? Do you sleep? Do you know what I mean? I'm serious though, because, and I say this because I think that like what successful folks tend to have a lot of things in common around morning routines, around time management, around setting goals, et cetera, et cetera. How do you manage all of it?
Well.
And what does a day look like for you? Do you wake up at 3? I mean, we have to wake up early in this business all the time, but how do you manage it all? And then how do you stay intentional with it?
That's a great question. So first of all, I think really good leaders and people that have a lot going on have to be really good delegators. And so I delegate to a lot of great people in my life, including the executives that I work with, that work at my company, the assistants that work with us, my child care givers and helpers, like I built a village. Is there more than one nanny? Nope, I only have one, actually.
Okay. Does she live in, I'm sorry, I'm getting your business. Okay.
She's not.
Okay.
No. But my kids are like in the golden age of childhood. They're like super fun to be around. I basically only want to hang out with them, so it's like the best. Like we don't weekend help or anything anymore.
How old are they now?
6 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I do. At the end of the day, first of all, I work really hard all day. I really try and put 100% into what I'm doing when I'm doing it. In the moment, I try to be in the moment. When I have something to do, I make my checklist and I tick my boxes. And at the end of the day, instead of freaking out and not being able to sleep and having anxiety over what I didn't accomplish that day, I go, you know what? I worked 11 hours today. That was good enough. That is all I can do. And then I go to sleep. And then I wake up the next day, and I get as much done as I can get done that feels humanly possible without creating massive anxiety in my life. And then I move on. And then I hope that everybody's been delegated the right thing. And I also get great advice from other people. Shonda Rhimes told me it's really important to recognize when something is actually a crisis. And I think that is so right. When you're starting out, everything feels so important and everything feels like a crisis and oh my goodness, and this person's coming at you going, well, did you make a decision on this? And did you read the script? And did you do blah, 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 blah? And I go like, no, because that is not a crisis yet. And it won't become a crisis because I'll get to it before it becomes a crisis you got to trust.
Wow.
And then I do the thing that actually needs to be done right then and there because people are on the clock. Other people are on the clock a lot when I'm working. Like right now I'm in post on a film. We got a lock picture. We got to finish it. We're at the end of the edit. I got editors on. I got a ton of people on the clock right now for Sony. They're going to stop paying those people's bills pretty quick. So I got to make sure we're done on time, on budget. That's my job. I produce the movie. I got to be on time and on budget. That's the job. So I'm going to finish that job right now, and today I'm going to be here. I'm going to be talking to you guys with Laverne, and I'm not going to sweat it. I was in Mexico this morning.
Wow. Now, were you working in Mexico, or were you having a little vacation?
No, I had a mini anxiety this morning when I woke up that the plane would be late and I wouldn't make it here to see you all. However, I said, we'll just see what the plan is today, see how it goes. This is something I cannot control, and that's the other thing I do. The things I cannot control, I really try not to control. And it's also really important to me to not control everything, which is also really hard to do, guys.
Oh, when that's the hardest.
You know.
Yeah.
But you have to delegate, and then you have to let people figure it out. Yeah. And you can help and mold and et cetera. But, we have this amazing show that we're making, Shrill, on Hulu.
Yes.
Thank you. And my job was to read Lindy West's memoir and go, this needs to be a television show. And then we found a writer, and then I took A.D. Bryant to dinner downtown LA when she was here, and I said, you've got to be on this TV show. Trust me, leave SNL, be on this show. She was like, I really want to be in the show. I don't trust you. I'm not leaving SNL. But I will be on the show. And I was like, let's see what happens. Let's hold hands together and let's make it. And we are in season 2. We have been picked up for a second season. The first season went amazingly well. We had an incredible writer's room. And I didn't write the show. That wasn't my job. I don't need to write the show. I can give some notes here and there, but guess what? Hulu wants to give notes. Warner Brothers, who is our partner, they are great at giving notes. Unless there's something I feel exceedingly strongly about, there are a lot of other people helping to make that show at that point. So I also someone who recognizes like, I have a very specific job when it comes to steering that show in the right direction. Of course, if they're casting somebody, I'm like, that is a terrible idea. I will speak up. But these are professional people who know how to make a TV show. That's a team that I put together along with Warner Brothers and Hulu so that we could make a great show. And they're doing an amazing job making that show.
They're trusting your team.
Can I
say, in my research to prepare for today, I was like, oh, let me just watch, because I hadn't gotten around to watching Shrill yet. So let me watch like a little bit of the first episode. I watched all of the first episode, and I watched the whole thing today. I was in hair and makeup, and I was like, we were laughing, my hair and makeup, but we were like, what is this show? I'm like, it's Shrill, it's on Hulu. It's hilarious, and it's smart. It's really smart, and we need it right now. Oh my God, the first episode, I was like, I don't want to give stuff away, but when she's in the pharmacy.
Oh, that's great, yeah, it's great.
It's children go watch Shrill. So as I wanted to be able to talk to you about it, but I don't want to give stuff away. That's genius, and it's so like this moment. I just think what I love is when really good content can sort of really be reflective of a moment around what folks are dealing with in terms of dating, in terms of like, you know, for her it's a, you know, being someone who's fat and how the world sort of interacts with him. I could really kind of go on about this. I've often found that like a lot of the dating stuff that trans people deal with, like people who are fat also deal with, but I'm gonna move on to the next thing, watch Shrill. Because you mentioned that you're in post-production for a movie, and that I mentioned in my introduction to you, can you tell us what that movie is?
Oh, it's Charlie's Angels. Yeah.
I'm so excited about this. Can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, I know, but can you tell us about how it all sort of started, and how did you end up co-writing, producing, and directing the thing?
It's a long story. No, I was looking, after I directed Pitch Perfect 2, thank you, which was, Pitch Perfect it's a female-driven, it's about diverse women coming together, working together. That is a theme that I really love in my work. And it's something that I feel passionately about presenting to the world. And when looking for a way to do that, on a big scale, on a theatrical scale, I was at a meeting at Sony to talk about other projects, and on the way out the door, one of the executives said, Charlie's Angels is here if you ever want to do anything with it. And then literally the door closed. And I went home and I dreamed about Charlie's Angels, which I loved as a kid, and loved the movies, the Drew Cameron, Lucy Liu movies, and loved like the Destiny's Child song, and still dance to it. Thank you. And we almost broke into a duet just then. They were waiting for it, but I was like, no. Okay.
Maybe later.
Anyways, I just knew that I could tell that story passionately. And the thing about producing, especially film, is you have to be able to sustain passion for a long time. Because movies take a long time to get up and running. They don't happen quickly. And so you have to, if you're gonna direct something, if you're gonna be involved as a producer, you have to find things that you can stay passionate about over a long period of time. And I knew that Charlie's Angels was incredible IP that was about female empowerment, and it was about women working together. Everything that I loved about the show, that I loved about the movies, I knew there was a great moment in time to do it right now and do it again fresh and do it from a woman's perspective. And I felt I had something to say with the movie. And it's coming in November 15th. Yeah. Thank you. And I just built a coalition of people around me to get it done and get it made, and I have an incredible cast that I'm so excited about, and Kristen Stewart and Naomi Scott and Ella Balinska, who are fresh and young and modern, and I just am excited for the world to see.
Fresh and
Charlie's
young and
Angels.
modern. It sounds like you were like talking about a fashion campaign.
I know. Well,
Fresh and young and modern. I'm so excited about that cast. They like look incredible together, and I love that. I love that you're doing it. And I think the piece too, why directing, writing, and producing? Like, why not just produce it? Why are you not? I mean, I'm excited that you're directing, but did it just happen organically?
The writing came very organically. A lot of the basic idea of how to do it, how to bring it back, what the story was going to be about, that came from the very early pitches. And then we took that pitch out to writers. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. A lot of the guys just didn't get it. And we had great writers come in. And we had wonderful writers come in. I don't want to get too involved in this, in what happened, but I'll tell you one quick anecdote, which is that this team of guys wrote a scene where the women, the Charlie's Angels, go to they end up they go do a big action set piece, and they go to an airfield, and they get to the airfield and they negotiate with a pilot of like a prop plane to like fly them out, and get them away from the danger. And I read this and I'm like, hey guys, see, these are Charlie's Angels. So like when they go to the airfield, they just fly the fucking plane themselves. Like, do I really need to say that? Was it really beyond your comprehension that a woman could fly the fucking plane? Would James Bond or Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt, would he not fly the plane himself? They fly the plane. They just do it. So that's why I wrote it.
And sweetie,
some of the guys that wrote on it are great. They're really great. And they get credit, and they're great. Just those guys just had a problem with the plane thing. It's fine.
amazing. And you are flying the plane. There's a new project that you're working on called Grace Year. And my understanding is that it is a novel, and the novel and the film are coming out at the same time. Is that correct?
No. I mean, who knows?
Correct me.
No, The Grace Year, it's a book that's coming out.
Okay.
It's out in December. We got an early read on it, and I'm really excited about it. It's sort of like it's Lord of the Flies with women. And it's cool. It's got a little like Handmaid's Tale thing. We're working on it right now. Who knows? This is what I mean. I'm going to sustain my passion over a long period of time for The Grace Year, and I plan to get that movie made. I'm saying it here to try and manifest it into existence. It has a really good shot because it's well priced, because these are the things that actually you have to worry about. How much is it going to cost? Who are we making it for? Who's the audience for it? This is what you ask as a producer when you find material. And I feel really strongly that we can make a really cool movie for a really specific audience that will go nuts for it, and it will make a lot of money for the people involved.
Amazing. What I love about you too, I love a lot of things about you, but I love that you always seem to think big. That like you'll do something. Shrill is on Hulu and it's doing really well, and then you're doing Charlie's Angels, and Pitch Perfect is like this international like success. I think it's super important to think big and to have a big vision and a big dream for yourself. I on an Instagram post last week when Janet Mock was announced her deal with Netflix. I was like, I've known Janet for a really long time, and she's always thought big, and she's always dreamed big. And I think it's important to dream big. But I also have everybody can't start, everybody can't have their feature film debut become the biggest, selling musical comedy, in movie history. So when did that start for you, thinking big? When did it was there ever a moment of not feeling entitled to? Because I think a lot of what I've struggled with often is feeling like, do I deserve this? Has there ever been a moment for you?
Yes, Laverne.
I have a good therapist, and I know now. But it's still a thing. These old demons sort of come up. Was there ever a moment for you where you thought you didn't deserve to be the Julia Roberts of your own creation?
Yes, there were. There were definitely moments. I mean, again, I had a really, let's see. First of all, I dream big. Sure, dream as big as your dream is. I think everybody's different. I meet filmmakers and they just want to tell their little private stories, or one of my favorite filmmakers. I was on the Venice Film Festival jury with Lynn Ramsey. It's amazing. Makes these incredible movies. But I don't think she wants to make Mission Impossible. I could be wrong about that, by the way. I want her to make whatever she wants. But I guess my point is when you're figuring out how you want to spend your time, that's what I think about. How do I want to spend my time? And what kind of impact do I want to have? And how do I make that impact? What are the ways to do that? Who are the partners I need to get in business with? What's the path to it? And what impact do I want to have? I know none of you missed the part where I said I wanted to be Julia Roberts. That was the dream day one. So I obviously had a big idea when I came, but that was born out of, I knew that comedy felt natural to me, and that I loved those movies, and that I loved not just Julia, but all those, female stars. But I also loved Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford. And what I loved about them was that they were always on a great adventure, but they were having fun. And there was a joyfulness into what they were doing. And I know that my persona is joyful. I know that that's who I am. And that's what I put into my movies and my TV shows and pretty much everything that I make. And I try to bring a lot of light and love into what I do. And I do that because when I'm in the movie theater watching things, if you just that makes me feel great when I'm in and I'm trying to get people to feel great in a movie theater. I'm trying to entertain you, and so that's just where that's where the size of the dream, I guess.
It sounds like
it's not really came into my consciousness. It's more about how do I entertain the most people all the time? Mm-hmm. How do I impact the most people all the time?
What it sounds like to me is that you don't get in your own way either. Is that you don't, because I feel like a lot of us, myself, me often, I've often been in my own way. And I think a lot of times when we have the dream and we want to make things happen and we have the intention, we'll get in our own way because of traumas, because of insecurities, because of whatever. And what I have heard in these minutes we've been together is that you don't get in your own way. You set an intention, you think about what you want to be doing, and you do it. And you don't allow, this is my interpretation, and you don't allow self-doubt or I can't do this or anything like that to get in the way. You're just let's just go forward.
I do tend to get on with it. That's true.
That's great.
But I don't want to say I don't have self-doubt. I definitely have moments. Listen, I was directing Charlie's Angels. It was really hard. I called my mom. And my mom was like, well, I think you're going to do great. She doesn't know what I'm doing. She has no idea. She doesn't know how to make a movie. But what she was really saying was which is what is true. They're paying you to do it. You're going to get up tomorrow. You're going to go to the set, and you're going to figure it out. Mm. And that's right. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up, and I'm going to keep going. What I don't do is allow myself to not do it. Just do it, and do it to the best of your abilities on that day. And then what I think you're really saying, which is true about me, is that I give myself a break. Like I said, at the end of the day, I worked as hard as I could work today. I know I gave today 100%. Mm-hmm. And the things that fell away are always I didn't work out, I didn't eat as well as I could have, right? All the things, I don't take care of myself as much as I take care of my work, and I could be better about that, for sure. But I also go I'll get to that next week. I swam in the ocean yesterday.
Amazing.
And I took time for myself this weekend. And I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt good about it. I felt like I needed that break for myself mentally and emotionally. And tomorrow I will get up and I will drive an hour to Sony from my house, which is an hour from the studio, at 6 o'clock in the morning to do an ADR session with an actor who is in Europe, because that's what time I have to do that job tomorrow. And I'm just gonna get on with it.
Yeah.
Just if you say it, do it. That's the main thing about this whole industry. Respects people who do what they say they're gonna do. I know I do. I bet you do. So when you decide to put something out there, know what your path is, figure out how you're gonna do it, and then you gotta trust and you gotta let it go a little bit. You can't control everything. And the other thing about content, especially in our business, is you have to share. You cannot do everything by yourself. Despite the fact that I wrote, produced, directed, and am a star of Charlie's Angels.
She's also starring as Bosley in Charlie's Angels, yes.
There were many, 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 many other people who helped that happen. So you have to collaborate. That's the other great thing about this industry, is it's an industry that is born of working. It's a group project. It's always a group project.
So learn to be collaborative.
So collaborate and share. I meet a lot of people who hold on to their things so tightly, like somebody is gonna steal my idea or they're gonna do, but guess what? You stole the idea. The Bible and Shakespeare and the Greeks, they wrote all the ideas already. The daddy who's not there and the divorce and the this and the that and the aliens and the spaceships, guess what? It's already all out there, everybody. You got your own take on it, good for you. But don't pretend you came up with something that's never been heard of in all of human history. You gotta share it. Don't be afraid of sharing it.
Thank you so much. And that is our time. Thank you, everyone. You're awesome.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the AT&T Shape event program. We hope you enjoyed the rest of the event and plan to join us again next year. Have a great evening and thank you once again for attending Shape.